Welcome everyone to Aging Backwards Summit of 2025. We have a very special guest with us today, Dr. Lisa Blazier. Dr. Lisa, thank you for taking time out of your busy day and being with us. Can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Lisa B. I go by B. It's a lot easier to say than my last name, Blaisher. Basically, I'm a chiropractor, but I practice differently than most chiropractors. Been in practice 39 and a half years. And I teach people how to heal themselves and instead of the treatment of illness and disease. So, of course, that falls into the whole wonderful world of healing, being healthy, and especially longevity as well. I'm a mother of three, all adults by now. I have one grandbaby that's only a year and a half old, and I have two fur babies, cats. So definitely a loving, hugging mama, and been in practice 39 and a half years and have people been with me 38 of those years. So it's pretty awesome to be able to serve people and help them change their life.
And you specialize in what you call divine healing. Can you explain that to the audience a little bit?
Sure. Divine healing is basically, we were designed by God. We were designed perfectly. We have all the functions inside of our bodies that keep us healthy, keep us growing, keep us developing. I mean, when you think about it, we have hundreds to thousands of functions that go on inside the body all the time, 24/7. And we have a master controller, which controls it all, which is what we call innate intelligence and inborn wisdom that actually creates health for us. But we were just never given the guidebook of how to support that body to create that perfect health. And that's where people like David and I come into play, is to help you find the knowledge and the wisdom that you need to be able to be the ruler of your health.
What are some of the suggestions you have for not only living healthy, but healing a person? Because my understanding is the body can heal itself, and a lot of times we replace our bones, our skin, our hair, etc. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, when you think about it, the body has amazing systems, like I mentioned. We have tons of them of how the body actually functions. So for instance, if you cut your hand, it's not the Band-Aid you put on it or the, antibiotic ointment or whatever people do use. If you keep it clean, the body will take care of it and heal it beautifully without your intervention. When you think about it, we are actually the smartest beings on this planet. We actually take two cells, a sperm cell and an egg cell, unite those two cells together and put into a woman's womb. We can actually create life, right? So, no man, no woman, no scientist outside of the body can do that. So you need the body's intelligence to actually even be able to create life. But yet we don't even give it justice to heal a cold or heal a cut without using antibiotic ointment or these kinds of things. We have lost the belief and the understanding of the perfectness of our bodies and how we were designed.
Well, not only that, in my opinion, we've adulterated the food sources and food that people eat. And the food is no longer nutritious and act as fuel for the body. It's more of a toxin and a poison, and people don't realize it because it acts very slowly. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. And like I said before, we were never given a handbook of how to take care of our bodies. We can't feel all the time what's going on. And this is one of the things I work with people individually as well, is becoming aware and connected to this. When we learn how this amazing body starts to work or works, then and we become more connected, then we can start to actually be very decisive about what we need to do. The body really talks to us, which we call symptoms, okay? It's our body's communication tool to talk to us, but we have been sort of programmed to dismiss that. So if you have a headache, what are we told to do? Take a Tylenol. You're dismissing the symptoms. Your body is saying that you need to do something different. Our body is an expression of what we do to it on a daily basis, moment by moment. It's an expression. So if we can really key in and connect with the expression of this body, then we can start to change what we're doing to it to get a better expression out of it, a happier, healthier, more functioning expression. Health is about how we function, not about how we feel. As I always say, is like if you eat rotten food or toxic food and your body revolts, right? We vomit, diarrhea, or whatever, or even get an upset stomach. Instead of trying to cover that up and stop that, allow that to happen because that's the intelligence of your body is getting rid of the toxic crap that we put in it. So especially if it's rotten food, that's poisonous and that could kill us. So when you're throwing up and diarrhea, and you know it's for a reason, is your body is protecting you, not harming you, and not having a difficulty of healing you. So for instance, when you get a cold or a flu and you run a fever, it's your body protecting you, but yet we are programmed to shut it off. So, what I'm doing is helping people to understand the difference of reprogramming themselves to allow their bodies to talk to us and work with that expression of health and life to create a stronger, healthier, functioning life and much longer as well.
What I find interesting, the analogy I would think of what you just said is heartburn, and that people reach for the Tums or an antacid
Mhm.
when they're not realizing they have the heartburn because of what they're putting into their body, and they really don't need the Tums, which is even more toxic for the body.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. The more chemicals we put in, the less healthy functioning we're going to have. We have our own set of human chemicals, but not man-made chemicals to be inside of our bodies. We have our human chemicals, and that's what we need to work on and listen to balance. So when people have like recurring heartburn, right? You know it's something typically you're constantly putting into your gut. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And unfortunately, we have been filled with a lot of toxins. So even if you are eating just fruits, vegetables, and clean meats, all of it clean and organic, um, we still get residue, unfortunately, of those toxins. So there are things that we can do to, again, there's foods, herbs, spices, things like that that you can actually put into your diet on a regular basis to help your body detox the stuff that's going in it. Again, we were created so perfectly that God gave us a detox situation in our body where our bodies detox all the time. Unfortunately, what's happening though is our poor livers are being suffering because of the amount of toxins are way too much than what our bodies are designed to handle. We're designed to handle, a small amount of toxins. Basically, our DNA was created 2,000 years ago, and we're living off of the same DNA, but yet we are living in such a very high toxic world compared to 2,000 years ago. So yeah, so we do need to aid in those things, and there's plenty of places to be able to detox and clean out, but a lot of it you can find in your real food.
Yeah, the perfect example when you talk about the liver is the fatty liver that they're finding in non-alcoholics, and they're finding them in children, which
Yeah.
is scary. But then again, when you think of the toxic chemicals they put into the cereals that are being marketed and promoted to children and kids, and you look at the ingredients, and I have clients all the time, I'm sure you do, say, I ate that growing up as a kid and I'm fine. And it's like, no, what you ate as a kid had maybe five or six ingredients. If you
Mhm.
look back before 1980,
Right.
and if you look at the ingredients now, maybe 20, 25 or 30 ingredients, most of it all chemicals. The example I use is the Gatorade. When it first
Mm.
came out in the 1970s, it had five ingredients. Today it has over 13, and the only two original are sugar and water. The other example is McDonald's French fries.
Oh yeah, that's a fun one to share.
And I like sharing that because I actually worked at McDonald's in
Me
high
too.
school, and we would cut the potatoes, peel them, cut them, blanch them, put them in the refrigerator overnight, then the next day use them, for deep frying. And I was there when they brought the frozen potatoes in to replace the fresh potatoes. And one of the staff members, crew members, said, I won't touch that. And I said, why? Now, again, I'm in high school. I don't know any better. And she goes, well, think about it. She goes, it's got to be frozen. It's got to be preserved And then it's got to have something in it so that the fries that are frozen don't explode in hot oil.
Wow.
I'm not putting that in my body. She was way ahead of her time. And I never, thought about it until recently. So again, what I tell people, and I'm sure you do too, it's not the food we're eating, it's what they've done to the food that we're eating.
For the most part, there's so much that you can eliminate out of your diet because it's not real food. And even though it mimics real food, like McDonald's French fries, I think there's 22 ingredients in it. Now, when you think about French fries, it's potato, good oil. You want to have a good oil, not seed oils, and salt, you know, right? It's a wonderful combination of three things. It's very easy to make on your own that you don't even have to buy. And it takes a few minutes to cut up a potato. I know
Or
it takes
use
a
an
little
air
longer to
fryer.
cook, but um, now companies are, getting out there and are creating healthier choices, even like to make it a little faster for some people. But I firmly believe we need to go back in time versus forward in time when it comes to food and health and these kinds of things. Many of the, modalities of how to take care of your body have been around for hundreds of years, believe it or not. And they were all poo-pooed in the late 1800s because of the wonderful chemical pharmaceutical involvement that came to be in the late 1800s. And it's interesting because chiropractic actually started in 1895 when all that craziness was hit, with no longer, all those natural ways are not healthy for you. No, you have to take these pharmaceuticals, and but it's interesting how chiropractic actually started back in the day there. But again, chiropractic actually started as a treatment model, right? They all sort of fall into that treatment model. Chiropractic actually was started on a man who was deaf who regained his hearing, had nothing to do with back pain. So when people think that chiropractic's all about pain and back problems, unfortunately, it is a wrong impression of what you got of our profession in chiropractic. Basically, in chiropractic, we remove the interference to allow the body to function better. We work on the bones of the spine because they house the central nerve system. So if your central nerve system is interfered with, it decreases your body's ability to work right. So when you think about eating junk food, now you're interfering with those natural healthy processes in your body with the toxins. So it's going to be a different output. So this is where we have to start to look at things a little bit differently, start to shift our minds. And this is one of the things that I have been frustrated with over the years, because even a lot of people in chiropractic, they still think it's about fixing a problem. We are not fixable. We're not like a stool, leg breaks, you can fix that, right? We are an adaptive organism that constantly needs to adapt. So the better we function, the better we adapt. Now we know in dinosaur time, right? The dinosaurs didn't adapt, 95% of them. And guess what? They're no longer here. So the more we can create the ability to adapt, which is increase our body's ability to function, the healthier we are, the longer we last. And, so we have to sort of do this little mind twist. And basically, what happened with people is that instead of doing medicine, they flip flop over into what they call the natural world, but they're still in that treatment model of illness and disease. So if I eat this food, is that going to make my pain go away? Instead of, I need to eat this food because my body needs vitamins out of it, right? Or, if I just change what I'm eating, my heartburn will go away, right? Instead of trying to fix the issue, let's change the system that is being interrupted with. And if we can change the interruption, then the body can work smoothly for us. And then we reap all the benefits.
I like that. I mean, I go to my chiropractor here to get adjusted every 4 to 6 weeks, not because of any other reason than maintenance. People take their car in for oil changes and maintenance. However, they don't do the same for their own bodies.
Right. Right. Yeah. How often do you change your oil, right? And, rotate your tires to get them to last longer,
Yeah.
these kinds of things. And those are things that can be replaced. And I know a lot of people go, oh, I can replace my hip or I could, yeah, but the more replacements you put in your body, the less it works as a natural, healthy, healing body because they're no longer your body parts.
Yeah.
So the thing is that people don't realize that we reject what's not human for us, right? Our human chemicals. So if you get, say, a heart replacement or a lung replacement, right? What do they put you on? Medication so your body doesn't attack it and get rid of it. So this is what, you hear of autoimmune is something's not us, the body is attacking it. So we need to get rid of that so the body doesn't keep attacking because it's not us. So the more human parts you have, the better off you are. And of course, health is really having all of our body parts functioning 100% all the time. So if
Just,
you have a part removed, you're functioning less than.
yeah. Just out of curiosity, how has divine healing impacted your own life?
Well, when I was young, I had what they called chronic bronchitis. Now they call it asthma. So I was very commonly ill, coughing, mucusy, and chronically on antibiotics. My parents, we were not big medical people, but my mom, my dad didn't really know what else to do back then. So I was on medication for most, from young up to early teens. When I was a early teen, I was still getting sick all the time, even though I was taking the medication. And at one point I just said, I'm stopping the medication. I'm sick anyway, so why take it? And when I stopped taking the antibiotics, each year I got sick less often, less frequently, and then it lasted less time. So within a couple of years, I was no longer getting this chronic bronchitis. So to me, it was like, wow, that medication actually interfered with my body's ability to heal itself and protect itself. So by stopping the medication, which I did on my own as a teen, it allowed me to live a healthier life. And that sort of started the change. I wasn't the greatest eater back then, being a teenager, and then going into college and that whole bit. But, the beauty of it is that it sort of put me on a trajectory of learning more about how the body functions. And then how can I be better for my own body? And then I went into chiropractic. I started as a chiropractic patient at the age of 19, and that rocked my world tremendously. So, and needless to say, led me to chiropractic school. So, yeah, I've been on not a roller coaster, but a deep dive for about 40 years now, studying vaccines, you name it. I have, gone deep into it, and I love it. I just absolutely love it.
I was just chuckling because when I was in college, my diet was extremely poor. It was pizza, pound bag of M&Ms, peanuts, sometimes plain, and a half gallon of Breyer's mint chocolate chip ice cream, followed by
Oh gosh.
sodas. Um, all that changed in 1977 when I read William Duffy's book Sugar Blues. And then for
Mm.
10 years, I was no refined sugar of anything and no red meat. Um, then I met a girl I was dating, and my boss back then said, "Be careful making exceptions. They tend to become the rule." He was right because
Mhm.
she was a chocoholic, and I made a couple exceptions. And next thing I know, I'm not exercising. I'm eating fast foods and convenient foods, and the weight crept up on me.
Mhm.
And I had to go on my own
Yeah.
weight loss and healing journey. I tell my wife I had to go, I've come full circle because I had to go through the experience of being fat, embarrassed, humiliated to understand what other people are going through so that now I'm no longer judgmental and I can relate to them and
Mhm.
help them. Where when I was younger, 20s and 30s, I was extremely judgmental.
Mhm.
And I guess that's where divine healing comes in. Um, so how does divine healing look like for your clients?
Well, basically, one of the biggest parts is again understanding how the body functions, but it doesn't work in pieces and parts. So we look at the whole picture, not just your physical health, but your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health. And then, working on those four categories tremendously because it's all about this. A stressed issue will manifest into a physical problem. We tend to, again, fall back into that medical sort of paradigm of like if your elbow hurts, they look at the elbow. And if they don't find anything, they say, oh, it's all in your head kind of thing, but it could come from your shoulder, your neck, your wrist, these kinds of things. Instead of looking at the whole, you can't fix those pieces and parts because they don't work alone, right? They work together. So I work with the whole package deal, and then I also look at what toxic stuff are we allowing in? And not just toxins in our food, toxic thoughts, right? Toxic beliefs, right? I believe I'm fat, I'm ugly. These kinds of things create a lot of damage to the functions of the body. And so I do really tailor-made work with my people because each person is different. Even if I do recommend, supplementation or something like that, it might not work for you the way it worked for me. It works for people differently. But figuring out the keys to what is starting to interfere with your body's ability to function is what we need to do, is find those individual keys that are blocking the ability of the body to work right. But so I do tailor-made. I do even offer DNA testing, which even makes it more specific to your DNA even, it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. It was very interesting. I had my DNA checked, and there's 3 different DNA that work with the absorption and creation of vitamin D in your body. And there's 3 levels of DNA. You're functioning 100% or 70% or 40% on the DNA levels. And my vitamin D, I was taking tons of vitamin D in the morning because my levels were low and thinking this is great, and well, it didn't work that way. Apparently, I have a hard time converting D2 from the sun to D3. Plus, my travel to get it to where it's got to go is slow. And then the uptake is slow. So now I take my vitamin D 3 times a day in lower doses for me to be able to get the full amount of vitamin D. And now my vitamin D levels are really well. And
Yeah.
here we thinking there's something wrong with us that our DNA is not, we're not working right because I'm taking all this stuff, but you're taking it all at once. Might not be the way your body works. So it was really very cool. I really enjoyed that. And that's why I offer it, to anybody that works with me as well, to be able to find this. And it can tell you what exercises work best for you, how you assimilate fats, proteins, carbs, these kinds of things. So yeah. So I basically really try to work, even though I do work in groups, but still everybody's an individual and I still work one-on-one with those individuals.
That's great. Um, Being a chiropractor, you're into the science and everything, correct?
Yeah, I do science, yeah, a bit.
So
Studies, basically research studies, to support.
when I,
Um,
yeah,
you know.
when I hear the word divine,
Mhm.
I think of the universe, a superior being. How does faith or spirituality play in true lasting healing?
Well, the biggest thing for me is that there is a divine or a higher power or whatever words you use because we were created. But who could create this amazing technology thousands of years ago, right? Now we're used to technology, but our technology of how this works is just incredible. Like I said, how does that sperm and egg cell, we know that they combine and then they duplicate, right? But in the woman's womb, of course, remember that. But how does it know when to stop creating nerve cells? Because the spinal cord, brain and spinal cord are the first things designed. How does it know when to stop there and then transfer over to creating heart cells, which are totally different? And then stomach cells and these kinds of things. So we can't duplicate that. So we don't understand it. So there's got to be a divine. There's got to be, right? So this is what creates the healing. The other thing too is having faith and belief. And once you understand that we have these healing systems in our bodies, we can trust it with a fever, with a cold, with a flu, that it's going to heal. It's just wonderful. But when you also think about it, if we are off spiritually, that we're not at peace, we're not at connection, we're off. And when we're off, the body functions off. And the longer it's functioning or malfunctioning, that's when we break down and age quicker. So if we can turn that around and create that healing to be up here, then we age slower.
I like
And
that.
not only age slower, but when you think about it, is having full function till the day we go to the next place, right? And people say that, well, how do you know when you're going to die? I said, I don't. I want to live today the fullest that I can possibly be. I want to be the best mom, best grandma, the best chiropractor, the best coach, consultant, best friend today, right? I don't know if I have tomorrow, but I want to function 100% until that day I go. Now, God did tell me 102. So, Lord, I'm putting you out there. You did tell me 102, but that's my goal.
I'm glad to hear that. Mine's 120.
Yeah, I
Just
know. I should up it, but
yeah. Well, our bodies are an incredible machine when you think about it. Like you said, there's different parts to it, the different organs,
Mhm,
and it's mind, body, and spirit.
mhm.
And that's how I look at it.
Yeah,
And attitude, like you said, has a big part of it. Uh,
right. Yeah, it's your mental, emotional for
and
sure.
you said, living, and I tell people there's a difference between living and existing.
Yes.
And then I go one level higher because there's a difference between thriving and living.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I choose to thrive. And again, it's not the physical, because you can be physically in good shape if your mind with, dementia on
Hmm.
the rise now
Right.
is not there. Now, what good is having your body if you're not able to enjoy it per se?
That's why it's so important to work everything in your health and life. It's all works together. It doesn't work in pieces and parts. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, you can be. And it's interesting. I have a client in my office, and her parents are older and somewhat failing. And her mom's got all this, right? The brain function, not so much the functionability of the body. And her dad is the opposite. He's losing some of this, but yet he has the full capacity of his body. She goes, I wish I could just put them together, right? But if we can learn how to take care of this, that we don't lose part of it, that we keep it all functioning higher and higher versus going lower, lower, and lower. And think about it. It's how we take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
It's what it comes down to.
Well, that and you work with women in uh, how would you word it? Midlife?
Typically, yes, I typically have more women in my practice. I have more women in my consulting, because they typically, they're the ones who actually put everyone else before them, right? And we tend to put ourselves on the back burner until something has gone wrong. And typically, going through the whole menopause thing is usually when your kids are grown and your body is changing. And that's another thing. We don't change what we're doing as we age. Like, we got to change what we're doing. We need to eat more protein. We need to change these things as our body ages. No matter how, we all age, but we don't have to be old. But so women tend to we put ourselves on the back burner. And I'm teaching women, without our health, we don't have the other stuff in life. You can't be the best mom if you don't have your health. You can't be the best grandma if you don't have your health. You can't be the best at what you do for a living if you don't have your health. You can't make great finances if you don't have your health. So, so again, it's just We're not broke. And that's the problem is we think we're broke and we need to be fixed. Instead, or how about we nurture ourselves?
That's the key, is nurturing. And I deal with some women who are what they consider midlife. Just out of curiosity, what would your definition of midlife be?
Well, that sort of changed over time. It's younger and younger now. Women's hormones are being highly affected by the amount of plastics that we have, going out there. So I find that women's hormonal balances start to get off a lot younger now. I would say normally it would be like 48 to 62, in there somewhere. But women are shifting and changing even younger, even though they're not going into full-blown menopause, but they're having difficulties getting pregnant. So, that with the infertility that we've got going on has risen tremendously. And that's a part of women's health as well. So I think it's sort of broadened, but I typically end up working with women, like from 40 to 65 in there.
Okay. Because when I hear the word mid, I think halfway. So if I'm in my 60s and that's halfway, that means I should be 120.
Right. So
Yeah,
other people's belief of midlife versus yours and mine are very different.
right. I was going to say,
Yeah.
when I talked to another friend, we're the same age. He says, I got about maybe 10 good years left. And I said, why?
Yeah.
And he says, well, average male will live to 79. I'm in my 70s. And so, if I'm a little bit above average, then I should make it into my 80s. And I'm like, that's a bad attitude.
Yeah.
Because again, you shouldn't compare yourself to other people
True.
when you are taking care of yourself
Right. So
and
the
your body.
biggest understanding there is we are programmed that way. We are programmed that, once you go through menopause or, male pause, because men do it as well. It's a little different, but they go through hormonal changes as well. Once we go through that in our like 40s to 50s in there, then you're on your downhill spiral. Then you're getting old. It's amazing. Like, I have people that, they go to the doctor and the doctor says, well, what medications are you on? And they go, none. And they go, but you're 50. Like, you're not on a medication? I'm like, why? Who said that we're not supposed to be healthy till the day we die? Right? So we're programmed, that once you're over 65, you're old,
Well,
you know?
interesting
And I'm,
story about that. I have a friend who's a former nurse, and she was saying when she was practicing, the question was, are you on any medications? And today the question is, what medications are you on? Like you said, making the assumption that you're on a medication.
yeah, yeah.
And just because you're a certain age with a certain number doesn't mean you need to be on a medication.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. But we have been programmed about age. We have been programmed about lifespan. We have been programmed about these things. So when we start to look at it differently and open up our eyes that, yeah, my body's not the same it was 20 years ago. I get that. You know, I used to be able to lift, 20 pounds more maybe, but I'm still working at 40 to 50 pounds I can carry. That's not too bad. So, but again, you got to work it. Our bodies are meant to be worked. I don't care whether it's your brain or your muscles. We think it's only muscles, but no, I mean deep breathing. We've got to get those lungs and that heart pumping, right? So if you're only shallow breathing, you're missing out on 2/3 of your lung capacity. So you're actually not even getting the proper oxygen to your body parts for them to work right to begin with. So these are the things that if we start to shift and change, we change our adaptation and we change our experience of health and life. It's really amazing. I have
Going
people
back,
that, at the red light, as I always tell them, it doesn't have to be much at the red light. Take a bunch of deep breaths. And they're like, so you make it a game. It becomes fun. It's not hard work. It's simple things that you're really doing, but we can just change them just a little bit to make them more effective for you.
a mindset shift.
Yeah. It's
So
key.
what
That
you're
is
telling the
key.
audience, if I understand correctly, is number one, we can age gracefully by getting older, but yet um, be active physically and mentally
Hmm. Hmm.
and enjoy life and be able to thrive at the same time, as long as we do certain things
Yeah.
to take care of the body.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Last year, I had biomarkers tested and things like that because I wanted to see the difference in age of your physical age versus your biological age is the age that your body is functioning at. And it was an 8-year difference. That was last year. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that tested again. And but it's such a mindset.
Yeah,
I became a grandma at 64. And it was so funny. So when I became a grandma, everybody was so excited because I couldn't wait for grandchildren. And so my response was like, wow, in 30 years, I could be a great grandma. And they're looking at me like, what? You're gonna be 94. I'm like, yeah, so I'm still gonna be on the floor playing with the kids. And they're like, I'm like, nope, it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. My kids call me the biggest kid, that they
yeah.
know.
I tell people I'm too young to be a grandfather. I have step grandkids, but I'm 70 now, so it's
Yeah.
my mind is I'm still a kid at heart, and
Yes.
I have a little plaque on my computer thing here, and it just says attitude is everything. The older I get, the healthier I become. The
Yes.
healthier I become, the more motivated I am to be healthier.
Yeah.
And my
Yeah.
philosophy is I'm growing younger as I get older.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely have been healthier than I was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, 30 years ago, over 30 years ago, I had to repair my gut because of all the antibiotics I was on. So I was having a lot of difficult time with the digestive tract, and I had to heal that. And that took quite some time because of the amount of years of being on antibiotics. And and that's the thing is healing is a process. Just like anything else in the body, it's a process. So it's not a quick switch. But again, we were programmed. You don't feel well, you go to the doctor makes you feel better like that. So that's what people think health is. And let me tell you guys, the process is the enjoyment part, is getting up and doing things to take care of your own health gives you the empowerment to actually even heal. So it's just tremendous. You should be your best doctor. You know your body better than anybody. So the more we can connect to this and what's going on with it, the better we become.
What I always tell people too is not one size fits all. So you have to figure out
Exactly.
what's best for you because we're all different. There's difference between male and female, difference in our experiences
Yeah.
and our DNAs, as you said, and,
Hmm.
and blood type, chemistry. So again, if someone says, I have the solution to everything, run
Yeah.
again,
I
not one
know
size
it's
fits
so
all.
hard, I see, so much of that, like even watching like a YouTube, and those little snippet commercials come on real quick, it's like I drank warm water before I went to bed and lost 50 pounds in 2 weeks. And I'm just going, oh my gosh, please don't follow that stuff. Please don't follow that stuff. We
Yeah,
know deep down in
I,
our heart, it took longer than 2 weeks to gain 50 pounds. You're not going to lose it in 2 weeks.
I had a former client lose 250 pounds in 90 days. You know how they did it? They got a
Oh,
divorce.
okay, that's a good one.
Sorry, as a former
I
divorce
was waiting
lawyer.
here like saying that they snipped the stomach, and oh my gosh, yeah, that's a hard thing too. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, when you go in and alter your normal bodily functions like that, it's not the answer, guys. It's not
No,
the
and a lot of times if you get out of a toxic relationship, you're much better off. And that's what I
right.
told a lot of women in domestic violence. And it doesn't have to be
Hmm.
physical, it can be emotional and psychological.
Sure.
6 months, you're going to feel like a different person. In a year, you're going to look back and wonder why whatever happened, because
Yeah.
you'll be so much. And they all said the same thing. You're right. After a year of being away from the person, much better, much healthier, and felt great. So
Right. And that's what I say about, health is not just your physical. It's not just the physical toxins we get in through our air, water, and what we eat,
Yeah.
but it's also the emotional toxins, and mental toxins as well, spiritual toxins too. The devil can be pretty strong at times. So, but yeah, but the mental, emotional, and it might not be another person. It might be your own stinking thinking.
Yeah.
And this is a big thing,
Yeah.
so love yourself, be kind to yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely. How can the audience get in touch with you if they want to reach out for some more guidance from you?
Oh, just awesome. Well, I'm sure I have a freebie though. And that's all about helping you to start to become connected to your ability to heal. And I call it taking inventory. And it's just a great way to start to connect, to start to listen to what your body is talking to you about. If you are a Christian follower, connect with Holy Spirit. It's with you all the time and it will talk to you if you listen. So these are just ways that you can do. So the freebie is really pretty awesome. You can go to my website, which is www.doctor spelled out, drlisab.com. You can contact me through there. You can go to drlisab3@gmail.com. And I'm always available, willing to step out and help. I just love helping people.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Dr. Lisa B, for being with us today. We're out of time right now, and I appreciate your suggestions and guidance and sharing your wisdom with us. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much, and hope to see you all soon.